continue the further remaining portion of the chapter power sharing. In the previous lecture, we have learned that Belgium is a small country which lie in the continent Europe. It is surrounded by many different neighboring countries such as France, Luxembourg, we have seen Germany, and we have also seen the country Netherlands. Since these neighboring countries are having different ethnicity, they have a different language, they have a different culture, so its impact was also visible in a country, Belgium. Belgium, we have learned that in terms of a size, it is smaller than Haryana. It had a population little above 1 crore, and these populations were not belonging to one particular group or ethnic group. As a result, there was a tension building up. Here we have seen majority, 59% of people, they belong to a group or a community, Dutch. They were residing in the Flemish region. Then remaining 40% we have seen, they were the French speaker. They were residing in the Wallonia region, and 1% German speaker. We have seen that Dutch, though they were majority in the country, however they were minority in the capital city, Brussels. And this just because here in the capital city, if Dutch is going to be dominated by the French, they have a fair chance that throughout the country, since there is a majority of Dutch speakers, French people may face some or the other kind of a discrimination. So this kind of a tension and the distrust was building between these two communities. And one more important thing we have learned, that though less in number, this French community, they were holding power. They were in good position because they were the first one to get the benefit of education, and in terms of employment, as a result, they were much advanced, and that was quite disliked by the people belonging to the. In order to bring peace between these two communities, especially Dutch community and French community, the government had to amend the constitution 4 times so that the proper power sharing arrangement can be done and country and its countrymen can reside peacefully without any kind of a conflict. Now for that, this Belgium has gone for a unique power sharing arrangement, because of which still they are able to reside peacefully without any conflict and without any kind of a confrontation. Now let us see in what way they have done this power sharing arrangement, which is quite unique. Now first thing what they did was that since there was a tug of a war between these two communities regarding control of a power, so they did first thing, that is distribution of number of ministers for the central level of a government. Then second thing they did, that if in case any changes has to be brought in the constitution, so that changes cannot be done unilaterally. That means single community cannot bring any change in the constitution. Now previously Belgium used to have a unitary form of a government, that means strong central government. Now they felt that there is a need, we need to give certain power to the state government also, so that the people, they will feel happy that okay, power is not confined only in the central government. Then when we have learned earlier that Brussels had a different ethnic composition, right, wherein we have seen French were 80% and Dutch people were only 20%. So here they made a separate government in the capital city, Brussels. Now next important thing, which is very much unique to this country. Now in any of a country where we can see democratic country, power division may take place between different levels of a government. For instance, in India we have 3 levels of a government: central government, state government and the local government. However, in Belgium, they did the same thing, but third level of a government, they made it different. Central government, state government, and third level of a government they made community government. And this community government used to look after the education, culture and the language related issues. This government would be elected by the people belonging to one particular community. For instance, it may be Dutch, it may be German, or it may be French, no matter where they reside. So in this way, they did the power sharing. So each and every community, they got share of power holding, and they also felt that yes, we are also given some kind of importance in our country, and our ministers are also there, no matter whether they are representing at the state level, community level, or even at the central level. Now, next in the series, we will try to learn about small neighboring island country of ours, that is Sri Lanka. So this Sri Lanka, just the way India was being controlled by the colonial power, that is Britain, here also Sri Lanka was also a part of the colony that was being controlled by British. Sri Lanka, in terms of a size, we can see it's almost as equal as our state Haryana. It's just few kilometers away from our state Tamil Nadu. Sri Lanka gained independence 1 year after India, that is on 4th of Feb 1948. So 1 year after we gained independence, they were able to gain independence from the colonizer. Now let us have a quick glimpse of the ethnic composition of this small country called as Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is mainly dominated by Sinhalese group who mainly belong to religion Buddhism as a whole. Now, it was not only the case that only Sinhalese people were residing. Here we can see it, Tamils are also residing here. So around 18% of the Tamils we can find in Sri Lanka, and these Tamils were further divided into two subgroups which we call as Indian Tamils and the Sri Lankan Tamils. Now, out of this 18% Tamils, 13% of Tamils were Sri Lankan Tamils and 5% of the Tamils were called as the Indian Tamils. Now, the question must be arising in our head that how come Indian Tamils there? Since Sri Lanka is very much close to our neighboring, our state, which is a neighboring, state to Sri Lanka, that is Tamil Nadu. During the time when both India and Sri Lanka was governed or ruled by Britishers, there was a need of labor, migrant labor for them in Sri Lanka. So these Britishers, they took workers from Tamil Nadu and they made them work there in the plantation farms in Sri Lanka. Now, out of these migrant workers, most probably many of them, they might have come back to India. But many of them, they felt it's better there, they got the employment opportunity and they were comfortable over there. As a result, they started residing there. So these Tamils, those who have migrated during the time when we were ruled by colonizer, these Tamils are called as the Indian Tamils. Now remaining 8%, they belong to different groups. Some of them were Tamil Christians, some of them were, like mixture of Sinhalese, even some of them were, like Muslims also. So this is the diverse ethnic composition of the small country Sri Lanka, wherein we can see it majority was being dominated by Sinhalese and they belong to religion Buddhism. And here we can see northeastern parts that was mainly dominated by Sri Lankan Tamils. Now we will try to understand the concept of majoritarianism and how this majoritarianism policy led to a conflict and civil war in Sri Lanka that disrupted the peace and tranquility of this country for a longer period of time. India, as soon as we gain independence, we form a democratic form of a government. In Sri Lanka also, they led to the formation of a government that was democratic. However, there they followed a strong policy called as the majoritarianism. Majoritarianism refers to a belief in which any of a particular community, whosoever is in majority, they believe that they should run the country, they should rule the country by disregarding the interests of the minority community. So we have seen that since Sinhalese people are in majority, they felt it is their right to run the country in whichever way they want by disregarding the interest of other minority communities that they are residing in the country. So here, in order to make this policy successful, what government did was they enacted an act in the year 1956, and this act became major controversial act which later led to the civil war between Tamil and Sinhalese. So in the year 1956, when the government passed this act, it did something that led to a distrust between these communities. First thing government did, that was Sinhalese was declared as the official language of the country. Second thing that they did was they started giving special preferences, especially in terms of jobs and education, only to the people belonging to Sinhalese. Third important thing, they declared that Buddhism would be fostered as the national religion of country. Now when these three things were done, that clearly showed that the government is mainly going to work in favor of Sinhalese people, and they are going to take less interest in terms of caring and in terms of providing any kind of a benefit to these people belonging to Tamils group. Either it can be your Indian Tamils or the Sri Lankan Tamils, and this definitely created tension. And this, because of this act, Tamils, they started feeling that they are not being taken care of, they are being neglected, their interests are not taken care of, and a feeling of alienation, a feeling of isolation started taking place among all those Tamils. When their interest was not being taken care of by government, they felt it is very much essential for them to fight for their rights. So Tamils started forming various political organizations, they started launching various struggles so that they can get some kind of a recognition of their languages, they can demand for the political autonomy wherein they can rule on their own. So these Tamil people, especially we have seen that they were mainly dominating the northeastern part of Sri Lanka. So they demanded, fine, you people continue with your governance in the entire country, but this area where we are in majority, let us govern on our own. So that is what we call as demanding regional autonomy. Then next they felt there is a need. Only Sinhalese people should not get any kind of position. So we are also residing in the same country. Being a resident and a citizen of country, we do need to get equal opportunities in terms of jobs and education. And they led to the formation of group called as LTTA, Liberation of Tigers Tamil Eelam. And this became a very important organization that led to lot of violent activities there in Sri Lanka. Since there was a strong distrust between these two communities, between Sinhalese and Tamils, the struggle for gaining power, gaining recognition started in a very violent manner, and that led to civil war. Civil war refers to a war in which a violent conflict takes place between two opposing groups within a country. So when different communities, they fight within the boundary of a country, that is called as the civil war. Both started leading to a lot of violent activities, killing lot of innocent people also on both sides, leading to a lot of economic setbacks. And then we have seen many of the people, they started migrating also. Thousands of people were killed on both sides. Like Tamils also suffered a huge loss. Even Sinhalese also suffered a huge loss. And just because of this, country's economic development was also hampered for a longer period of time. So this is a way of understanding that how and like important a power sharing plays in a democratic country. If the sharing of our power would have been done in a better manner like Belgium, then definitely Sri Lanka would not have undergone these kind of a civil war, leading to a lot of violent activities, leading to a lot of bloodshed and poor economic condition for a longer period of time. So with this, today's lecture, we will try to summarize it, and in next, we will try to understand about the various forms of power sharing. Thank you and have a nice day.